This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. If you don't already subscribe to Paramount Plus, please use our affiliate link by going to talkthroughmedia.com/Paramount Plus. Using our affiliate link gives us a little credit, which helps us to keep bringing you great content. U.S. residents only.
Hello, and welcome to episode 14 of the Star Trek Lower Decks podcast. I almost didn't say it right, but this time I did. I'm Brian.
And I'm LT.
And unfortunately, Kyle is unable to join us tonight. He gives his regrets, but he's just
on a highly classified away mission.
Yes, for Section 31. But anyway, we will be covering Season 2, Episode 4 of Star Trek Lower Decks, titled Mugato, Gumato. Before we get started, we want to mention that this podcast is supported by our Patreon supporters, and you could become a supporter by going to patreon.com/Brian and Ruthie. And of course, last week, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you may have noticed that we put in the feed an early access version of the episode. So one with very little editing done. And it was an experiment to see how things went. I think it was a success. I did think that it saved quite a bit of time at the beginning of it, but maybe caused a little bit of a delay after that. So I'm going to make some changes and hope. What I'm hoping is having that file will speed up actually getting the release of the regular podcast out too. But the hope is that we can get this out like either Friday night or Saturday morning. And, and then the regular episode will come out maybe 24 hours later. But anyway, I know LT, you are a member of the Patreon. Did you get a chance to listen to it?
I did.
And what did you think?
I'm amused. I like getting it early.
Yeah.
I think it would be funnier for somebody who hasn't actually sat behind the microphone.
Yeah.
During the sausage making process.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, we did the same thing for our regular Walking Dead talk through, and normally it's the three of us on there, and there were a lot more blemishes, I guess you could say, on that episode than there were for the Star Trek one. Just we had a lot of things go wrong. There was this weird, like, could hear very faintly this voice, this podcast playing, and I'm like, what the heck is this? Turned out to be my own headphones were in my pocket playing during the whole episode. Well, during a good portion of the episode. I didn't even realize it was coming from me. I thought it was coming from the other guys. But anyway, those are the kind of things that you got to hear on the express version, where we try to minimize it and take it out in the final version. But anyway, you get it faster. That's the main benefit. So
and I think we can say that it's rawer, it's grittier.
Yes.
It's slightly less polished.
Yes. Yeah. There may be a few adult words used, or just a lot of different things that could go wrong. Normally those things do go wrong in that version. So anyway, we're going to keep experimenting. So this will be, we'll be doing the same thing this week. So anyway, let's move on. So we didn't really have any feedback for the last episode, but we do have some Errata, so I'm going to play this, and I'm just calling it Errata.
Incorrect.
Some sausage just got made, listeners. We commented on it, but I just wanted to make clear, Quailor 2, I kept saying that maybe Quailor 2 is Stardust City. What I meant to say was that maybe Quailor 2 is Free Cloud. So, what they called Free Cloud in Picard could be what in this era is Quailor 2. So sometime between 2381 and 2399, Quailor 2 changed its name to Free Cloud. I don't know, but it's a thought. So anyway, that was my thought.
Okay.
All right. So this episode, season 2, episode 4, titled Mugato Gumato, is written by Ben Rogers, who actually is the voice of Stevens, if you didn't know that, and directed by Jason Zurek, who directed the first episode of season 2. The description from ParamountPlus.com is as follows. The USS Cerritos is dispatched to a planet to investigate an unexplained sighting of a dangerous Mugato. And what I said here, and it's the truth, when I was a kid, I saw at a very early age the episode that had the Mugato in it, A Private Little War, and I was so scared by it that I wouldn't watch Star Trek for like a year after that. So it's just funny. And for years, I was thinking it was the Gorn. It was the Gorn episode. It wasn't the Gorn. I remembered after seeing it again, it's like, no, it was the Mugato.
The Mugato.
Yeah, it was definitely the Mugato. It gave a star date this time. It was 58036.4. The air date, according to Pacific time, was September 1st, 2021 at 11:06 p.m. Pacific time. What does that mean, Brian? Well, that happens to mean I was awake and I did the refresh, and it popped up at 11:06 p.m. or 2:06 a.m. Eastern time. The runtime is 25 minutes, 13 seconds. So, LT, what did you think of this episode?
Well, Brian, I gave this one a 9 out of 10. So just what did happen to the Atlantis?
I'm going to give it 8.5. Very uncomfortable alien animal mating rituals. And of course, I'm pretty sure we'll be talking a lot about that. So
well, we're going to be talking about it. I don't know how much, but we're going to be talking.
Yeah. All right. So we did not get much feedback this week. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's because of the Labor Day weekend. I don't know. But we only got one voicemail and one piece of written feedback. So it's from Wes from Minnesota. He says, I thought this episode was a letdown compared to last week. I give this episode 8.25 expertly crafted Mariner rumors out of 10. Okay, so let's move on to our yeses.
Yes!
Again, listeners, you just got some of the sausage being made. So tune in to listen to the things that only Patreons will be able to hear. Okay, so for the yeses.
West from Minnesota says diplomath. Someone had mentioned it in the Federation equivalent of Tongo, but we got a new game in Trek in like forever. I thought it played like Monopoly. 24th century Monopoly, maybe? The Ferengi whips. I liked it. I think the whips are better suited for Ferengi than the awkward phaser they had for TNG.
I thought that the Ferengi whips were unique, right? Like when they went to phasers, they weren't really unique anymore. So
yeah, of course, that's when they were still in their early snarly, you know, oh, you human.
Yeah.
Keep your females clothed. So,
Yeah, there's actually some we'll be discussing that later. There's some talk about that anyway. So
yeah.
LT, what did you have for your yeses?
Oh, my yeses. Well, I had to say that once again, on one of our mini callbacks, we got to see some Ambo Jitsu. Of course, I think this was more like, more of the elimination match, unlimited wrestling Ambo Jitsu.
I got a kick out of when Shax just comes in there and he's like, I'm early.
It's like, oh, don't mind me.
That was funny.
The lieutenant at the bar, I've noticed that she seems to be the barfly lieutenant because it seems to be the same female at the bar that's always either getting talked to or making comments, because I think she was the one that the Temerian talked to last week.
You might be right.
I'm kind of thinking I am, but it just seems like that she's the pickup lieutenant. I'd mentioned it, just Shax being Shax.
Yeah.
From the start of the, whoop, don't mind me, I'm early, to when they were on the planet and he's like, diving through the jungle and sniffing poo and
not just sniffing.
I know, but I was going to let you have yours. And just the fact that Shax is being Shax, and of course, he got in there and managed to get hurt because it's Shax. That's what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that he came back from that place that sane men don't talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I am happy to see that he didn't.
And I was going to say, since I didn't get to say it last week, I've enjoyed the fact that it seems Jennifer has shown up more than once.
Yeah.
And apparently, just as an aside, apparently Jennifer is snotty to everybody.
Seems that way.
And I think my last big yes was just the whole riff on how to say Mugato.
Yeah.
Mugato. Then every time they said it different.
Yep. And that is a callback to
the
original Star Trek.
That is actually a deep cut TOS Easter egg. Every time they said that, I keep thinking Clamato.
Yeah.
Yes, I had an aunt that drank Clamato juice. And so that's just sort of a running joke with me. So every time they said Mugato, I'm thinking Clamato.
So in the episode is called A Private Little War, and from TOS, and it basically they get attacked by Mugato, and originally in the script it was called a Gumato, and for whatever reason DeForest Kelley couldn't say Gumato, so they changed it to Mugato, but it was instead said like Mugatu, and apparently every time it was mentioned in the episode, they said it a different way. So in this episode, it was the same kind of thing. They said it a different way every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like even Shax, every time he said it, he used a different pronunciation. So that was all a callback. And the funny thing is, when you go back and you look at the credits, credited in the, at the end of the episode, it's the guy, it says Gumato. It's not Mugato, it's Gumato. So it's just a really funny story. But basically, by doing all that, they've cemented it in canon. So I just love how this show does that. It's like they take all these weird things that are potentially inconsistent in canon and they just make them all canon. You get to be canon. You get to be canon. You get to be canon.
Well, and it's the fact that, and I've said this before when we were talking about TOS, that people go, oh, well, this is a violation of canon. And I said, well, TOS violated canon on itself several times.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny that now we're getting deep cuts from our favorite TV show from the 60s that nobody ever expected would be this famous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, you get all these things that come up, and it's like, back then, nobody would have noticed.
Nope. And like I said, the thing for me is the same thing that you and I have both said, that one of the best things about this show is that it is a deep cut Easter egg factory for us harder core fans. And there's stuff that you'll pick up and you'll go, you'll pull the episode nerd and you'll go, oh, that was in Act 3 of The Man Trap. And it's just, that's one of the things I love about the show, that you can tell that the people who are producing it are as big a nerds as I am.
Yep. All right.
So what have you got, Brian?
Well, you mentioned, I think, the Ambo Jitsu. So I just said, like, Mariner kicking Boimler and Rutherford's asses with gusto. She snaps that, whatever you call that. It's almost like the thing that Spock had in Amok Time.
Yes, it's like a leer paw, but it's softer and pattier.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of a pugil stick that you used in basic training to fight with. But
yeah, I got a kick out of that. Them immediately thinking that she's a Section 31 operative and, super spy. And the funny thing about it being, that it was kind of believable, and they were going on, about it, like thinking that it was real. I mentioned Shax, but specifically this episode had a whole thing to, the Bear Grylls, Steve Irwin, what's that guy's name? Coyote Peterson, and, all those like nature guys, where so Shax goes in, and not only does he, track the Mugato dung, he tastes it.
yes, and the expression on everybody's faces was
Yep. Stevens, I got a kick out of his weak bones. That was funny.
My hip.
Yep. And specific to that, I guess you could say Tendi and her kind of rising to the occasion, and figuring out that the last person on the to be scanned is actually Dr. Tana.
Yeah.
And just Dr. Tana being a cat, it's just, I think it's just funny.
Yep.
Any kind of humanoid cat reference just makes me laugh.
Well, the box joke last week.
Yes. I got a kick out of, I guess the first thing I'll say is that there were a couple of ties to Arena. I didn't have this in the spot the references section, but the first one is the scamming, the guy that scams, who, they put a tractor beam on his shuttle and it immediately blows up. And of course, his thing, he's doing it just to get a shuttlecraft. And, he also wants Freeman's trinkets. So of course there's some little Gorn thing there, but there was also the thing that Rutherford and Boimler kind of put together to show the Ferengi that looked very similar to what Kirk put together to shoot at the Gorn in Arena. So
yes, it did.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny. There was something funny about that. I don't know what to call it, but the Power of Math game, the fact that, if basically a compromise. If everyone is upset at the outcome, then they win.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of true. And what else? I get a kick out of Freeman when she's trying to cover up for the things that have gone wrong with her, husband. Oh yeah, everything's fine, because you kind of think of, well, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree.
From the tree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where Mariner gets her kind of ways. That, like, I wonder if Freeman was like Mariner when Freeman was her age. I would be curious to know that.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's so funny is last season, it was Freeman covering up for Mariner. Now I think it's just Freeman covering up for things in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think, Freeman senses that if things go well this year, she might get,
Better ship.
better ship. So she wants the better ship.
Oh, you remember all the, oh God, what was it? The bigger ship last season,
The Vancouver.
because that was the whole thing is, well, one day you could get a Vancouver.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's it. It's all I could think of right at the moment, but there may be some other things that come up. Let's move on to our nose.
No!
Wes from Minnesota says, this episode relied a little too much on the gross out humor. No offense to the writer, but I felt like some of the gross out humor was a bit too much. The Mugato mating? Come on. And even another one watching the mating? Too much. I thought it was too awkward even for Trek. The Ambo Jiu-Jitsu was also too violent. Man, even Kyle and William Riker didn't even do that. Well, I think, LT, you had a little bit to say about some of what Wes said.
Yes, I can have to agree that the whole Mugatos in love sequence was a little much for me, especially with it's not bad enough that the two original Mugatos there were, enjoying their quiet evening in the jungle, listening to Barry White. But the fact that they had to do the voyeur Mugato.
Yeah.
And I don't know, can we get away with the whole horn rubbing thing was a bit much?
It was more than a bit much.
For me, that was the bridge too far.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I said this in our chat, and of course, LT and I, and of course, Kyle cover the Walking Dead talk through, and there is it's way back in season 5. There is an episode called Self-Help, and in that episode, Eugene, he is seen watching two of the characters on the show, making love, and he mentions during it that he does this a lot. So he's watching them making love while looking at them in the self-help section. And so what I said, in the spirit of this show, and we had just seen the Temerian join the show, I said, Eugene in the self-help section. So
Boimler and Rutherford in the log.
It was, I have no disagreement with you, with Wes, and I believe I am channeling my inner Brian from Colorado. It just didn't need to go there. I mean, like you said, the horn thing, that was a bridge too far, and it just,
because it was funny and awkward, the fact that they were caught in the log.
right.
And I could have gone with that, but Mr. Voyeur was just, I'm like, oh, really, guys, come on.
Well, and then they made it worse by not only did he touch his horn, he stroked his horn. And that was just
Mhm.
like, oh, come on.
Yeah. And I'm like, for God's sake, it's a kid's show.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Brian, from Colorado, I know you're going to say something about this one. And maybe the fact you didn't submit anything this week, maybe it's because you were so flabbergasted that you just couldn't say anything. I don't know, but
He was so shocked by Mugato's in love.
yeah, I mean, there's no dispute from us. I'm not sure what Kyle thought about it. He can tell us next week, but it just was too much, man. I just, yeah, it's too much.
I mean, I could live with Shaq's tasting the poo, but this, I'm going to, like I said, I had to put my hat on and say, nope.
Yeah, I didn't mind Shaq's tasting the poo. I thought it was kind of weird, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that where they should have stopped it was just not show the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't show that. It reminds me of there's a do you ever see the movie Top Secret?
I own a copy of Top Secret.
Okay. You probably know the scene I'm going to say then.
Yes.
Okay.
The prison interrogation. That's the one that I was thinking of.
Okay.
When it's like, did he tell you? It's like, no, he didn't tell us, but he died. It'll take us a week to get the smile off his face.
Yeah. There's that's a Val Kilmer movie very early on in his career, and
I want to say, wasn't it the same guys that did Airplane?
Yes, it was.
So it's very much that sort of humor.
Yeah.
It was. I want to say it was right after he did Weird Science. I think so. It was very early 80s.
Yeah. It was before like him doing Willow, and I think even before Top Gun.
It might have been before Top Gun.
Yeah. We don't need to go into it, but yeah. Anyway. As far as mine knows, just beyond that, the Australian Tellarite Patingi, I think Patingi was supposed to be like a Steve Irwin type.
Yep.
But first, I'm an expert in Mugato. I have 5 books on the Mugato, and he's written 5 books. Oh no, I've read 5 books. And of course, 5 seconds after that, he's like torn limb from limb, and I just thought that's so stupid. Patingi. Anyway, I just thought it was stupid that they went there with the character. And I thought it was odd. This is one of those like, is this not good enough versus being a no? But I decided to put this in no. Why do the Ferengi have vehicles with wheels?
Why does Starfleet have vehicles with wheels?
Yeah, I mean there was the Argo in Star Trek Nemesis, but
and the Dune buggy, very much like the Argo in season 1, episode 1 of Lower Decks.
Oh, okay. I forgot about that one. And I believe we're going to see another vehicle in an episode to come. Anyway,
my answer will always be A, you can't do squealing burnouts in a grav vehicle.
And B, it's too much like a land speeder, Star Wars style.
Well, true. And wheels are still cheaper and more economical.
That's true.
And if you're a Ferengi, it's all about the bottom line, man.
Yeah.
Why should I spend money on a floaty car when I can have a rolly car for much less?
True.
It's all about the latinum, baby.
All right, so that's it for our no's. So let's move on to our not good enough section.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough!
Wes from Minnesota, he says 10D. Given the dubious task of doing crew physicals and doing it however possible, it was too brief. Except for breaking her arm trying to get Tana's physical done, that was too good.
Yeah.
All right, what about you? What do you have for your not good enoughs?
Well, just to finish the thought of what Wes started, I think the only other thing I counted all for was animated compound fractures. I was like, funny, but a bit much. My hard no was, okay, the doctor was avoiding having a scan. Why didn't she just do it herself?
Yeah, of course.
There's absolutely nothing stopping you from turning the little woo-woo thing around and pointing it at yourself, because somebody did that. Now,
Yeah.
having a bad case of old guy syndrome, but I know somebody did it.
I believe you're correct. I just couldn't tell you who.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that after last week, they were commenting about it being Boimler Mariner and Tandy Rutherford, and then it was Tandy Mariner, that this week it was Boimler Rutherford.
It is nice to see them mix it up some. So maybe we'll get a Boimler Tandy Rutherford Mariner next time or something.
Could
I don't
be.
know.
I'd suspect that somebody made a comment about last season that it seemed that it always broke out that way.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was some discussion about that, like at one of the, might have been Star Trek Day or at New York Comic Con or whatever, one of those days.
No, I was going to blame us because I think we mentioned it.
Us too.
And I guess my last thing was the fact that the bartender sounded like he was doing an imitation of Quint from Jaws.
He certainly did.
You know, well, that's a fine thing you got there, Chiefy. I don't know which accent he was doing, but it just seemed like the old grizzled sailor from some episode of The Simpsons. And again, could just be me.
No, it wasn't you. It was definitely something like that. Or Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Smart Park.
Yeah. I didn't write anything down for the not good enough section. Not sure why.
That's not good enough.
Yeah, it's not good enough. So let's move on to our open hailing frequencies. All right. So we've got a couple of voicemails this week. One we just realized we got. The first one is one we already knew about, and that is from Jeff, X-Force 11.
Hello, Star Trek fans. This is Jeff, X-Force 11, leaving my feedback about Lower Decks, Mugato, Gumato. And this was a fun episode. I like that Mariner's been spreading rumors and how that throws us all off for a little bit because we can see how they might be true because of her record. But I like in the end how she starts spreading rumors about the guys as well. And, you know, I liked Tindy's story in this episode. I'm liking that she's being more assertive, and, you know, we got to get some info on her last episode and her species, and so she's trying to be more assertive in her own way in this episode and being that good medical officer there, and so I'm really enjoying that. All right, those are my thoughts. X-Force 11 is out.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff, X-Force 11, for your feedback. You're bringing up a couple of good points here that I want to talk about, and that is how she is spreading some, rumors about them. I think that's kind of cool. And like you said, I was totally buying the whole thing about those rumors, because I mean, you could see that they could be true with her. So I'm like, okay, she's a super spy. That's not exactly a stretch, but I kind of like that she was the one that was spreading rumors about it. So I agree with you. What about you, LT?
Oh, I think he's spot on. I think it's more funny that, most people get rumors spread about them from somebody else, but she's actually spreading rumors to make her sound tougher than she is.
And her explanations are actually credible, I think. If no one, like, okay, so I have a theory about Mariner and why she is the way she is. I kind of think of her like a Wesley Crusher, sort of, but Wesley Crusher meets Doogie Howser. In other words, she was young and was in the academy and graduated very young, like 5 or even 10 years younger than most of her classmates. And as a result, I mean, that explains why, like Boimler says, well, you're the same age as me. That would suggest why she might have these quirks. Like, she was thrust into command or into leadership at a time when she wasn't ready for it. When she was still, I don't know, trying to be an adolescent or something, and it maybe affected her in a negative way. And she realized that if she wasn't the one, well, it's like maybe she had to do the Kobayashi Maru at too young of an age, and got scarred by it or something. So,
well, I think what it is like you're saying, both her parents are in Starfleet, so she might have grown up on a ship. She might have been very much like maybe not the super genius like Wesley, but she was still a kid like Wesley Crusher with Starfleet parents, and she moved around a lot. And the expectation would be, well, if your mom and dad are both in Starfleet, then you're going to go to Starfleet.
If you think about it, the way I'm thinking about it is that she may have been the equivalent of, if Jean-Luc Picard and Riker had a kid. I'm kidding, of course, but just not a Wesley Crusher in terms of, like, being a nerdy science engineering type, but more like a command, like just born to command, and then got thrust upon it too early, and as a result, she has been pushing away from it, for many years. That's what I'm thinking it is with her.
And I could see her as a younger character that she really did want to make mom and dad happy, and she probably pushed and was, might have been promoted quickly on top of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is just like her going, at the age she should be when she's a know-nothing ensign, is she's already seen too much. So now she kind of knows the deal, and she's been involved with the bureaucracy a little too close. And so that's why she's, jaded and cynical, because she kind of knows where the holes in the fences are, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. So I think as we go along, that's what we're going to discover. It's probably some story, maybe not exactly what we're talking about, but something similar to that, like something where she was thrust upon.
Yeah. I think maybe she really is a Section 31 secret agent, because what's the first thing a Section 31 secret agent is going to say? They're going to deny
They're not.
it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That was another thought I had too.
So maybe all the rumors about, maybe her spreading the rumors about herself saying that she's a super spy is just to take away the suspicion that she really is.
Well, it reminds me of something that Garrick said, I will take this from Memory Alpha. It's in the episode The Wire from DS9, and where Bashir and Garrick are talking, and Bashir dryly asks who wins, to which Garrick grins and responds, "Who do you think?" "Never mind, don't tell me. I don't want to spoil the ending," Bashir says sarcastically. As Garrick laughs, Bashir obviously has something more serious on his mind. He wonders which of the stories about Garrick's past are true and which are not. Garrick reassures him they are all true, especially the lies. Anyway.
Well, the other one that I liked was truth, doctor, is in the eye of the beholder. I never tell the truth because I don't believe there is such a thing. That's why I prefer the straight line simplicity of cutting cloth.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's move on. And as you guys know, the last couple of episodes, we've been treated by a new caller, Mary Lou. Well, Mary Lou is back for the third week in a row. And we have not had a chance to listen to this one at all. So we're going to be hearing this just like you are. So here we go.
Hello, Brian and Kyle and LT. This is Mary Lou, and I'm calling again, talking about the lower decks from Star Trek on Paramount Plus streaming service, and it's very difficult to use, and I'm calling about the Star Trek to dealing with the Mugatos. Calling about the Mugato episode. I know it sounds like it should be Japanese, but it's not. It's the name of these giant gorillas that have horns on their head. Horns get itchy whenever they see other big bears with horns, because that bear was scratching his horn, watching the other bears, and it was making me itchy myself, and, but anyway, I love this show. I thought that there was some things in there that were pretty funny, very funny. I thought that the bartender, he liked to gossip, like Gladys Kravitz, from Bewitched. Abner, and he'd say, Gladys, take your medicine, give her a spoonful of drugs, and, so anyway, I was talking about the Star Trek Lower Decks, the episode about Mugatos. I thought that the cost-benefit analysis at the end to beat the Ferengis was funny. Sometimes I have to do my own cost-benefit analysis when I'm going to the grocery. I say, this cost for this, is it gonna benefit my hips? If the answer is yes, I'm gonna buy it. And if the answer is no, I'm gonna buy it anyway, because I like cheesecake, and nobody can tell me that I can't eat cheesecake, whether it benefits my hips, cause me a pant size. But anyway, I digress. Dr. Bosom didn't want to get a scan, and was, running around away from Tindy and trying not to get a scan, which makes no sense because you're a doctor. And if you're a doctor, you know that the scan is not invasive and it's not going to hurt you. And you probably have to tell people all the time, it's not a scan that's going to be invasive. You're not going to know what happened. But then, why is Dr. Bosom evading the scan? It makes no sense, but it's funny. And since it's funny, I laugh. And since it's funny, I just ignore it. And it doesn't matter when it doesn't make sense, because it's a cartoon, Mary Lou. And, but anyway, I also enjoyed the part about the scam artist that tried to steal a shuttlecraft and all sorts of personal things. People who scam people, they're just trying to get along. My first husband, Francis, he was a banker, and at that interest rate, the bank's a scam artist too. But anyway, I gotta go. Today is the two baby bosoms' birthday. They are 6 years old, so happy birthday, babies. You're the best baby bosoms, and mommy loves you, and Mommy's gonna hold you, and I'm gonna squeeze you and hug you, and I'm just gonna love you all night, because it's your birthday. So, anyway, Brian and Kyle and LT, thank you for letting me be on part of your show. And everybody, thank you for listening. I hope that I'm not talking too much. I'm done talking now.
Oh God.
Yeah, this is the first time you've got to witness it firsthand. Mary Lou, you are just a bundle of freshness. Anyway. Happy birthday, bosoms.
For a second, I was afraid she was going to say, I'm going to hug him and kiss him and call him George.
The LT and Mary Lou agree with each other about the silliness of Doctor not wanting the scan. That was not lost upon me.
Yes, it is good that someone agrees with the LT, because the LT needs to be agreed with.
Well, the LT was agreeable. The LT made a lot of sense today. So I would have agreed with LT, but I didn't have to, because it was so universal truth.
Yay!
But Mary Lou agrees with you, and she's all that matters. Hear about another husband of yours, Francis, this time. So I think we know about the first husband and the fourth, not the second and third yet. So I might be wrong, but yes. So Mary Lou, thank you again. What can be said, ladies and gentlemen? All right. So do you have any other notes, any other stuff that you want to bring up as far as this episode?
No, sir, I do not.
All right. So we have a spot the references section, and this time, instead of going to the Den of Geek, I decided to try a different source, and this time I went to, what is this one? Oh,
Heavy.com.
I went to heavy.com.
They're on my news feed.
Oh, yeah. So I thought heavy.com, what I'm finding is that Den of Geek, they're like really going into the weeds sometimes and bringing stuff up that maybe either isn't all that good, or like I don't really consider to go into an Easter egg for something that was, say, in the previous episode or something like that. Like that
Right.
just seems a little too much to me.
That's just continuity.
Yeah, exactly. When it's series to series or something like that, that's another thing. So I wanted a different perspective. We mentioned the Mugato already, so I'll skip that. You may have noticed that when the Mugato are first encountered, the two science, aliens that we see are Denobulans, which are first seen, of course, on Enterprise. Star Trek Enterprise had Dr. Phlox, and Dr. Phlox was a Denobulan, and when they had fear or when they try to make themselves look big,
yes, they puff up like pufferfish.
Yes. And that's what they did there when they saw the Mugato. So that was interesting, but that was it. I think we talked a little bit about the Ferengi and using the whips. The first time we see that is in one of the first TNG episodes called The Last Outpost. And that was, I think, episode 3 or 4 in season 1. That had the whips, and I think that might have been the only time that we had seen them in TNG, because later they do move on to phasers, but we may have seen them again in Enterprise? I don't know, because I know there was an episode with
so.
the Ferengi, and they're not listed as Ferengi because the time Earth didn't realize that they were Ferengi. So
Right.
right. So anyway,
That was season 1, episode 5.
episode 5. So something that Mariner even mentions, she says the Ferengis of Mugato Gumato will probably be familiar to the fans of the early episodes of Next Gen. These Ferengis were much like the greedy little goblins introduced for the first time in the episode, The Last Outpost. In fact, Mariner even says that the Ferengi are some creepy throwback Last Outpost style Ferengi. The writer's choice to have a character reference an episode name is interesting. It's possible that the incident was mentioned as the Last Outpost incident in Starfleet reports. However, it seems a bit too meta to have a character referencing an episode name. It wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
No, she's done it a couple of times.
Yeah. Regardless, Mariner's assessment is correct. She goes on to ask whether these Ferengi have ever heard of Quark. The comment serves as a direct comparison between the primitive, stupid, avarice-driven Ferengi of Next Gen and the clever, conniving, super capitalist DS9 Ferengi. So, yes, I would agree with all of that. I thought that the Ferengi and DS9 were a significant upgrade, although they definitely have some quirks. And I know Kim on Rebinge DS9 has talked about some of those quirks.
They did.
Yeah.
And I think that the reasoning that I'd always heard is the feedback they got from the Last Outpost was, you look at the series, they gave us the Romulans and they gave us the Klingons and they gave us the Gorn and then the Ferengi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that definitely DS9 did them a lot of favors.
Well, from what I understand, like they had a different take on what the Ferengis were going to be in TNG. And for whatever reason, the director that did that episode just kind of made a mockery of it and, had them jumping around and all that crazy stuff. It was, They were like hanging around like they were monkeys. And as a result,
or my personal favorite, you're even doing the hand thing.
Yes. Enough about that. Let's move on to our Shipwide announcements. And of course, again, we want to thank Wes Huntington, who collected these for us. If you don't know, Wes has a Twin Cities Trekkies podcast. You want to look that up if you ever get a chance.
Okay.
Is what it's called. So, the opening sequence for Prodigy was released to fans this week via YouTube. The music was composed by Michael Giacchino, best known for the Kelvin Timeline music. He also, I think, scored and directed one of the
short treks.
Ephraim Amdot. That's the one
with the tardigrade.
Yeah. So anyway, that came through. Now it's basically the title sequence. There's no credits on it. It's basically just, we see the NX. I can't remember the call letters, but it's the USS Protostar going through space, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of trippy at the same time. Really cool. I thought, opening sequence. So what did you think, LT?
I was pretty impressed that you get the same sort of thing we see in Discovery where they overlay, images of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty impressive seeing that little ship zipping around.
Yeah, I thought so. And I
mean, he does great scores, so the music was wonderful.
Yeah, I thought that the CGI was beautiful. The music was beautiful. I'm looking forward to that show in ways that, maybe 6 months ago I wasn't. So,
well, I think the fact that it's more of a 3D render style of animation as opposed to like, I don't want to say cartoony animation.
Right.
So that I think it'll be good to see how they do some of the ship scenes, and I'm interested to see the characters actually moving, because we've gotten a few stills of what they're going to look like. So,
yeah, I mean, if they looked kind of similar to what we were getting with Lower Decks, it would just be the same old.
Right.
This is a much different looking show, and I think from what has been explained, it is a show not just for kids. It's a show that kids can enjoy, but it'll also be a show that adults can enjoy too. So I think that's going to be good, and we'll see.
Yep,
we'll see.
It will be.
And along those lines, there's also been an announcement about a couple of the villains that Prodigy is going to have in this first season. A couple of known actors, Jimmy Simpson, who I know we've seen in, I think he was in Westworld, and also the Black Mirror, the USS, what was the name of that one?
Oh God, the Star Trek episode.
Yeah, the Star Trek episode.
Ooh, yeah.
Not, he wasn't the one that was playing the captain. He was one of the other characters.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, so Jimmy Simpson is going to be in there, and he's a good actor, definitely. The other one is a great actor, none other than Walter Bishop himself, John Noble. So from Fringe.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, John Noble. He's also known for his appearance in Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings trilogy as well. Anyway, he's a great actor. He will be in like part of the voice cast of Prodigy as a villain. So be interesting to see how they use him. But in terms of one of the other shows coming soon, there is another villain that has been cast. We heard about this, I believe, yesterday. The Borg Queen will be returning in season 2 of Picard, and it will be a new character, or new actress playing that character. Annie Wershing, who's best known for playing FBI agent Renee Walker in 24, will become the third actress to play the role of the Borg Queen. First two were Alice Krieg, who played in First Contact and the Voyager finale, and then the other times that she was seen in Voyager she was played by, or the Borg Queen, I shouldn't say she, but the Borg Queen was played by Susanna Thompson. So, Dark Frontier and Unimatrix Zero, those episodes,
right,
it was Susanna Thompson. So, yeah, so I think that will be interesting. Bringing back the Borg Queen, whether or not that's like, if it's going to be in his nightmares, or we know how Picard changes from at the end of season 1, so I don't know what that's going to mean as far as his character, but it's interesting nonetheless.
We know something's going to be up because John Delancey's still around.
Yes. Yes. And in fact, speaking of Picard, some things came through this actually today, Friday, the 3rd of September. Production staff has confirmed that season 2 of Picard has wrapped, and it has been reported that season 3 is being shot back to back, which also has been confirmed by John Delancey. And so they're basically shooting back to back, which is something they were planning on doing pre-COVID, and supposedly they are going with those plans. So
we're going to get season 2 and season 3.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be 20 episodes back to back, but we're probably going to get 10 episodes, and then maybe 6 to 8 months later we'll get another 10. Who knows? But they'll be shot like right after each other, so that makes it easier. I mean, if you think about, say, The Walking Dead, that's how they've done it. Though,
right?
They have done up until this, the past 2 seasons, they had done 16 episodes. They'd have 8 and 8, and they would shoot straight through, and you'd see the first 8, then they'd take a couple of months off, and then you'd see the second 8. They just like finish them up. So
right,
I believe it's a similar kind of thing.
I'm just saying that this also portends that we're going to have more Trek, hopefully closer together.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm looking at it, and I don't know the exact order, and this is just me speculating, but I believe we're going to have Lower Decks, followed by Prodigy, followed by Discovery, followed by Picard, followed by Strange New Worlds, followed by who knows what. Maybe Lower Decks season 3, or who knows? But
who knows?
But I believe that we are going to have Trek pretty much every week for many months to come, and they may take like a couple of weeks off here and there or something like that, but it'll largely be Trek going all the way, as long as there isn't any kind of COVID slowdown again. I think we're going to get Trek and more Trek.
We can hope.
Yep. So next thing is about the Voyager documentary, To the Journey. And an update on that is that it will continue this fall with more interviews and hopefully include a Voyager reunion at the Destination Star Trek convention that is going on in Germany, I believe in November.
Mm-hmm.
They filmed some reunion footage from the 2020 Star Trek cruise, which was the last major event prior to the pandemic. Well, prior to the 55-year mission, so
right.
That just went on last month. They are also going to accept an invitation from the European Space Agency to visit their facilities and put Garrett Wang through astronaut training. Interesting.
Ensign Harry Kim in space.
Producer David Saponi is hoping for an HD footage of Voyager, bloopers, and other behind-the-scenes videos, much like we got to see with the DS9 documentary. I think the behind-the-scenes stuff is still to come. They've got more stuff they're planning to release, but
right.
We saw a little bit of it on the ending credits, and of course, we saw HD footage, which was amazing. Speaking of HD footage, don't forget that coming this September 7th, so I believe that's Tuesday of next week, the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray set of the first 4 Star Trek films will be available. I believe that's in the US only. I don't know. It might be in Canada too, but I know it's in the US. The only new special feature is an isolated music track for the motion picture. The rest have been ported over from past releases.
Right.
William Shatner has made a music video detailing his life after the original series was canceled. And as far as I've heard, he had some pretty rough times. I haven't heard this video, but I know that I think at one point he was living out of his car.
Yep.
Yeah. Hero Collector. You may know them by the models Eagle Moss. That's the same company. They are publishing a book for the 55th anniversary of Star Trek, which, of course, if you don't realize, that's going to be Wednesday, September 8th, the Star Trek Day that will be happening next week. And I'm glad that I'm mentioning this here. Plan to stay close to your YouTube and your, Paramount Plus and whatnot, because Wednesday, September 8th, there'll be a whole bunch of announcements and panels about the various Star Trek shows. There's both new and old. There's a couple of legacy panels and about the new show. And there's going to be a Strange New Worlds panel. I believe we might finally get a trailer for Strange New Worlds. So,
because last year, if you didn't catch it, they had panels and shows and trailers and things all day.
Yeah, they did. So, for possibility there, considering the fact that there's going to be a panel for Picard, a panel for I think there's one for Lower Decks, but I don't think they're not featuring it too much. So, there probably won't be much going on there, but there's a big panel for Prodigy. There's one for Strange New Worlds. There's one for Picard. There's one for Discovery. So we should hear a lot about these new shows and, the new seasons, and especially two of the shows that we haven't seen anything on. Well, Strange New Worlds, we haven't seen anything on at all. And Prodigy, we've only seen, bits and pieces. So,
right.
Anyway, getting back to it, that Hero Collector is publishing a book for the 55th anniversary of Star Trek called Star Trek: A Celebration. Hero Collector promises a comprehensive look back at the series that started it all. It will hit shelves on September 21st. GOG.com, which stands for Good Old Games, is making rumblings for Star Trek gaming. Right now, some of the Interplay era of gaming, the 1990s, those titles are available for purchase via its website. And Viacom CBS has now added copyrights to those 4 available games, but its Star Trek library may be getting a lot bigger. Some of the Activision era games like Star Trek Armada and Star Trek Bridge Commander may be added soon. So, I mean,
it would be cool to see. Granted, they're older games. Some of them have been available on some of the abandonware websites.
Right.
And I know that there's still people selling old copies of diskettes on eBay. So for nostalgia's sake, it would be cool to be able to get a proper copy. I don't expect that it's going to be any updated graphics.
Right.
But it'll still be, for those of us who remember playing it on your Commodore, you get you a copy that'll work on your new modern machine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that the game plays like it played on the old machine. That because a lot of times you put in one of those old games and it plays at like lightning speed, but
you have to get a processor slowdown program.
Yeah.
Or if you're like me, you just get one of your really old computers in the basement.
Yeah. Last bit of news: Voyager's Tim Russ helped detect an asteroid orbiting Jupiter called Patroclus. Russ is one of 5 citizen astronomers who discovered this, a Trojan-type asteroid. Not sure what that means, Trojan-type.
I'm not sure either, but that's why it has that Greekish sounding name.
Yeah. All right, so that's it for our news this week. Thank you, Wes. LT, why don't you take us out?
All
Tell
right.
people how to contact us, send in feedback.
To submit your theories and feedback, go to talkthroughmedia.com/feedback, where you could submit text or audio. If you'd like, you can call 216-232-6146 and leave us a voicemail. You can send your emails to lowerdecks@talkthroughmedia.com. You can post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group. That's www.facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts. The deadline for Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 5 will be on our regular day and time, Friday, September 10th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Star Trek TTM. A great way you can support the podcast is to share us on Twitter and Facebook. Go to facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. You can write us a review there. Please share and retweet those posts on Facebook and Twitter, especially when the new episode notification comes out. You can also subscribe to the Talk Through Media YouTube channel. That's where you'll find new episodes before anyone else gets it. You can subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts or the podcast client of your choice. While you're there, give us a rating or review. And since you didn't mention it, you can also check us out at podchaser.com. At Podchaser, you can rate the entire podcast or you can rate individual episodes. We really like ratings. We really like reviews. Just saying.
Yes.
And since we've already mentioned it, one of the ways that you can support us is by our Patreon. We would like to thank our Patreon supporters: James Robbins, Kim Vogley, Brian Shiro, Christoph Leckleitner, Lee Radke, Michael Carrier, Stephen Chambers, Kevin Lyle, Jeff Gentry, Robert Kaiser, Clint McCollum, Mike, Trey Whipke, me,
and Kyle McAdams.
And Kyle McAdams.
Don't forget that all of the episodes of Talk Through Media can be found on the Talk Through Media all-inclusive feed, which will also contain the podcast that Kyle, LT, and I do for The Walking Dead called The Walking Dead Talk Through, which also contains Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead World Beyond. We're currently covering The Walking Dead Season 11, and first couple of episodes have been pretty good so far. Good return for the show, and it's a big, extra long final season. So we'll be kind of doing 2 episodes a week for some time to come. So anyway, with that, our next episode is going to be covering Season 2, Episode 5 of Star Trek Lower Decks, and it is titled An Embarrassment of Duplers. We don't know who's written it or directed it, and we don't know a description. So until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm LT.
Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.